Spook.
Yes.
One across. 11 letters. Football club that constantly lets us down.
Would it be Collingwood?
That fits.
Yeah, good, good. I like puzzles.
3 down. What a bear does when it defecates in the woods. 5 letters.
That would be shits.
Okay. 5 across. Just 2 letters. Who they do it to all the time.
That'd be me. Hang on. What does that spell?
Collingwood shits me.
Oh. So does that mean we didn't win this week?
Let's look at the clock.
Is that factoring in daylight savings?
I think that's factoring in Collingwood savings. Welcome to the Collingwood Rant, the home of football intelligence all over the net.
Hang on a second. Intelligence?
Yeah.
Oh.
Contradiction. We're coming to you following the loss of the grand final rematch.
Did we lose that as well?
We lost that. So we have now lost 4 games in a row to the Eagles, the West Coast Eagles.
Can you talk to me in
They're
crosswords?
flying high.
Four down?
I cannot talk to you in anything but anger and bitterness and disappointment and despondency and disconsolation
Stop
and
us if you've heard this
sadness.
before.
And anyway, quote from Nathan Buckley's press conference.
Was it a depressed conference?
It was a very depressed conference. We were out-grunted after quarter time.
Did he say grunt?
Out-grunted.
I thought he said grunt.
When the work rate went up and we needed to match that, we weren't able to. It's been pretty consistent how they've beaten us. We get off to a good start, they grind their way back in, then grind us out.
It is deja vu. It is deja vu.
It is deja vu. 4 times.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts about the game that no one on the internet or in the football world or the Collingwood Football Club or anywhere in the galaxy would want to hear from you? I don't know where I'm going with that. Terrible joke.
I thought you were going to say,
Yeah, I know.
thought we'd win.
No.
I found it bitterly disappointing. Just pretty much the last 2 weeks have been a mirror image of how it ended last year. And look, as joyful it is to relive good memories, that's not one of them. I think the performance across the board, aside from 3 players, was pretty flat and uninspiring, to be honest.
All right, let's look at that to begin with. Our much vaunted midfield, apparently the greatest midfield ever assembled, scariest
On paper.
midfield on paper, the
On paper.
most brilliant midfield.
Maybe we should get one that's brilliant on grass.
I think we've had enough drug problems.
Maybe that would help. What did the Verve sing?
So we've played 3 games, and in 2 of them, our much vaunted midfield has sucked.
And that's putting it politely.
Now, Malcolm Blightley.
Oh,
So we can factor in that maybe it's going to take a little while to get the chemistry working, the synergy between new players coming in like Dane Beams, yet Taylor Adams coming back this week. But it's just disappointing when you look at the stoppages. They just have been consistently beaten by both Geelong and by now West Coast. They are both grunty teams. They've got guys that are hard in and at it. But I would have thought we have enough muscle at stoppages and apparently the premier ruckman in the league to maybe manufacture 1 or 2 clearances every now and again.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
I mean, Grundy...
Even by accident.
Well, Grundy... Was he playing for us on Saturday night?
No, he was best on ground for the Eagles. His ruck work was sublime. If you tapped it down the opposition's throat every time.
And it's not just a single out Grundy, because I think
he just did.
Well, I'm going to add people now.
No, good.
Taylor Adams is the one midfielder, whenever he got the ball,
Yep.
Instead of just doing the safe handoff to someone just close to him, he tried to go through traffic, he tried to be creative,
Yep.
He tried to...
Went on mad dashes.
Yep. And tried to break up the zones and create something. Why the guy coming back, who's been out for
Was
8
he concussed?
weeks... Oh,
Maybe he thought he was still playing for GWS.
I don't think anyone remembers that sort of history, except for Keefe. He was the only guy who actually seemed to try and break the Eagles open. Everyone else went for these little safe, here, tap, tap, handball, handball. And I understand that's part of our game plan to try and break open zones. But it was really frustrating when you have this good on paper midfield, not actually converting that to any form of, I'm not even going to say dominance, just innovation and attack.
Oh, yeah, you think also too that maybe having a capacity to run both ways may come in handy.
Well, that would be useful. There's probably a few guys there who...
There's a bungee cord attached to them, maybe?
I think
Trying to run!
No, I think they're trying though. Forward line.
Do we have one?
That's a really good question. So we have a forward line that has some talent in it.
There's a lot of talent in it.
It just doesn't seem to be working.
No. And I think there's lots of elements of what we're going to talk about tonight that is on the back of it's not working yet, hopefully.
Well, last year, when it came together was after Ben Reid went out. They brought Myercheck in.
Maybe we should bring him back in.
Well, possibly that's what they're going to do.
It's the Bizarro move.
Not singling out Ben Reid here. I'm just sort of saying, once they cobbled it together from what was left over, basically, because they probably didn't expect they'd be playing Myercheck as their regular second key position there. They probably didn't think Cox would be like a permanent full forward at any stage. So they actually fashioned it by accident. It seems to me they're really trying to get Elliott one out at times, and that's disrupting. Everyone else is playing higher up the ground. Cox is coming a little bit further forward. Myercheck also seems to be playing like a high half forward mid.
Right.
He was actually good, I thought. He tried.
Yep. He's one of my three.
Yep. But it just totally disrupted our forward coherency. So I just don't know if that's going to work the way they got it, whether they shouldn't be pushing Elliott higher up himself. Because he is quick, he is mobile. I don't know if they're shielding him because they fear his body is not going to be able to take the load at the moment of playing that sort of game. But the forward line hasn't really worked in the Geelong and West Coast games.
No, everything that made it wonderfully unpredictable last year is now... It's a structure that obviously wants to work, but it's finding a hard way of making it work. As much as I love Elliott at the moment, I feel for the poor bugger. He's starved to the other night.
Yeah.
You can run in every which way direction, but if the ball's not coming your way, there's not much you can do.
Going to defence. Not the fence, but defence.
Wasn't he in Falling Down? I like that movie.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a parable.
Yep. So Roughhead struggled.
Mm-hmm.
How? I don't think it was brilliant. He was sold without really being anything, but he had a few.
But he didn't he shut down Darling at least? Did Darling do anything on the night?
Oh, was he on Darling?
I think he was.
Oh, okay, I'll take that back, Jeremy. Sorry.
Maybe do some research next week, mate.
Why start now?
I could have just made that up as well.
Possibly. Darcy tried. There was a frightful moment when he limped off and we thought, okay, there's another soft tissue injury, but he came back on and the hair had been blown away and he was ready to go. Apparently ankle had been strapped. The guys that really...
So he's out for the next 6 years?
Yep. The guys that we really needed rebound from, Jack Crisp, 6 kicks, 9 handles.
Ooh, that was a stinker.
And he's done this, he did this last year. He had a brilliant prelim. I thought he was best on ground in the prelim. Just kept charging. He hit 2 goals from half back.
Mm-hmm.
He did last week. He killed Richmond yet again with his mad dashes.
It's like deja vu.
He's totally like deja vu.
Maynard.
Maynard struggled. And Langdon, the one thing I noticed with Langdon is at times his intensity seems to fluctuate. It seems to be, I think, at times where he feels the ball's going to be dead. Not when it is dead, but when it's going to be dead, he just...
Was it ever really alive?
I think it was alive when it won the grand final for the Eagles. Just looking at some of the other guys in general, Jaden Stevenson, I think he tried 10 kicks, 4 handballs.
Yeah, look, I thought he improved a little bit last week, but again, back to... Look, again, what role's he meant to be playing? He's running up... Look, I would have thought he'd be that perfect... Play him up the ground with his pace, he could then burn people off and run through, but it just doesn't seem to be working.
I'll get back to this.
All right. Sorry I brought it up.
Yeah. Tom Phillips, 10 kicks, 4 handballs.
Yeah, maybe he'll enjoy the VFL this week.
He could. Josh Thomas, 7 kicks, 5 handballs.
Maybe he could enjoy the VFL as well.
Now, Jamie Elliott only got the 6 kicks.
I'll forgive him.
Levi Greenwood, do you know who he was tagging?
I think himself.
Yes.
Because he took himself beautifully out of the game.
He kept himself down to free kicks and free handballs.
Oh, well done, Levi.
But it probably actually shows why they went without Greenwood in round one. Because I think they want a more offensive midfield who the opposition have to worry about, rather than, let's play a midfielder who's not going to get a lot of the ball.
I think they're worried about Greenwood, that they might trip over him.
But Greenwood, if you're going to play him as a tagger, he's going to need to get at least mid-teens in terms of his disposals. 6 disposals is not really...
Who did he tag? Was it Shuey?
Oh, I don't know. I think he rotated. Someone told me Yo. And
they all finished with about 30 plus possessions.
And when someone said Gaff, and Gaff finished on 35.
He did a good job then. I mean, otherwise they would have got 36.
I would have actually liked, yet again, as in the grand final, it really became this dour struggle, and you're looking at it and thinking, this is writing itself. This is not going to change. Eagles are probably going to keep us to within 2 to 4 goals.
Yeah, it did feel like that. Yep.
And I actually would have liked, going back to your Stevenson point, I would have liked the Stevenson if they said, screw it, Crisp, you go to the wing, Stevenson, you go to half back. Let's change it up a bit. Maynard, go in the middle. Just try and get something started.
We've got structures. We have structures.
I would like to see...
We have to have structures.
I know, I understand why they do it, but I would like to see... And Alistair Clarkson tried this a few years ago where he was rotating players. I would like to actually sort of have a team where you go, it's not working, we'll change it up for a bit. See if that just either gets something happening or gets them thinking about, how we're going to handle their changes. I mean, I actually thought we lost 2011 grand final because Podzieli went down and Malthouse, instead of changing it up and putting pressure on them, had to react to what they did. But that's sort of going a little bit further afield.
Why set the way back machine?
Because it's just repeating
itself.
itself.
It's a theme of deja vu this week.
Although his possession count hasn't been great throughout the year, they seem to miss Varco's pressure, the frenetic charges and tackles and that sort of stuff.
He is a bit crazy loco.
Yep. I really felt it was like
Did Varks play in the VFL?
No, it was held over.
Okay.
We'll get to him later too. Stop, spoilers.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe I'm going to go out there and tell all the kids that Santa's not alive. I'll say it doesn't exist.
What do you mean?
He exists. The sort of game I actually thought, if Malthouse was coach, he would have just put the line through a few names.
So now we've come to the elephant in the room.
Yeah. I'm not going to mention who they were, but I think there's a few players who probably aren't playing roles that are ideally suited for them, but they're not going to get that real estate because there's better candidates in there. But they're just not returning figures. They're not doing enough. And you said there's only 3 who played goals. Mychek, Adams, and DeGoey were the only 3 guys who actually looked like they were running frenetically. That would be my biggest problem. We really look stagnant yet again. What is the work rate? Where are the options? When you see...
Where's the desire to win?
I mean...
I'm sure it's there, but
credit to Eagle,
visibly you don't see it. And maybe this is just a byproduct of it being still early in the season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Maybe we're pacing ourselves. I'm living in all sorts of hope.
For what, 2024?
Help me out here, Obi-Wan.
No, it's not going to happen. Credit to the Eagles, because they're obviously asphyxiating us. They're not giving us room. They're staying on players. But it's one of these things where you watch it and look at it and go, look, the result's not going to change from what the deficit is at this stage if you don't try something different. I understand the logic of, we'll bank on what's always worked for us and hope that comes good, because it has sometimes in the past. But again, I'd rather see some changes. I'd rather see players taking risks. I would, even do something like throw more to full forward or whatever the case might be. Just change it up a little bit, because we're now lost to them 4 times in a row. We beat them the year before, which is when DeGoey ran rampant and it was that Eddie had, and we came from behind and ended up beating him. Okay, we can run around waiting for a player to have a superhuman game and pull us over the line. But, maybe we should actually, because it's meant to be team-oriented, maybe just we need to work out better team structures and better ways to make all the parts produce the sum of a better result. Because I'm really, just looking at this and thinking, oh, hang on, isn't that happened to you 4 times?
Yeah.
And people actually forget, in the qualifying final, we actually started poorly in that game and we hauled them in. But then they, again, out-grinded us.
They out-grunned us.
And in the home and away game, which is when Nick Nat did his knee and we lost Cox, I think, pre-game, it was a late withdrawal. But we ran all over the top of them for the first 15 minutes.
There might be a gag there.
Yeah. But we ran over the top of them. So it's actually pretty common that we get the bit of a run, they seem to adjust, and then it's bang. and then the same thing just happens. We just get ground out of it. Okay, 4 times, it's that thing. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. No, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And come on, we've got to change it up.
Certainly that shame on me stuff.
Yeah. I'm not blaming it for the result. The Eagles are too good. Umpiring was deplorable. And I watched the Essendon Melbourne game the night before. It was deplorable.
Fardigan hell.
I mean, that Tom Phillips decision when Jamie Cripps basically dived over the top of him, won a free, and then got a 50 because Jaden Stevenson gave it back to Tom Phillips. And Buckley pointed out, he goes, everyone's confused because that's why Stevenson gave it back to Phillips and not to Cripps.
Oh, but I said it and he heard, he just didn't hear me. I
I
heard
put
you,
it
he ignored
in
me.
it clearer.
Yeah, I'm in a stadium with 70,000 people yelling.
I can't do the mathematics, 150 years of football, 26 games, roughly 26 rounds, roughly a year, thousands of games. One player suffered a broken leg because someone slid in, and they've made a rule for it. And now they've just fucked up the game in such a way which is just...
Well, it's an exceptionally exploitable rule. All you got to do is just, whoever's put their head over the ball, pretend to trip over them.
Well, the thing is, too, people are sort of going, look, they're looking at this Phillips on like, oh my God, that's just terrible. That was happening last year. It happened, I remember, against Melbourne, Queen's birthday, where Adams dived, knocked the ball out to a teammate, but he took someone's legs. That was a free against him. Round 1 against Hawthorn last year, remember Langdon ran back with the ball, dived, took someone's legs out, but got the ball out. And it's one of these things where you're actually saying, the AFL is actually saying, you know what? You don't have an option here other than to hang back. Because there's nothing else you can do. To win the ball requires a dive.
Well, you could squib.
But that's the thing, is hang back. And Patrick Dangerfield came out and tweeted, that's a disgrace, that decision.
Well, the whole community's pretty much loud at it. Yelled at it.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Yelled at it. Oh. Dangerfield labelled decision disgrace and tweeted, don't put your head over the ball, kids. Lower and harder, nah, not anymore. So
was he tweeting about the football?
He was tweeting about something dangerous. Any final thoughts about this most disappointing game against the Eagles in this grand final rematch?
No, other than the fact if you want to call yourself a footballer, maybe kick them when you're straight out in front 25 metres.
Okay.
It's not that hard.
I just actually like to see the midfield, which apparently is rated the best ever, scariest ever.
Well, they're scaring me.
To actually maybe show some of that dominance. Anyway, we'll be right back with the return to Meaty and the Fiddick.
Oh, good.
So welcome back, and it is time for Meaty and the Fiddick.
What have you got for us this week?
I probably have nothing. I've already pointed this out a little bit and ranted about it. Watching the Melbourne Essendon game.
Well, you just stop there.
Toward the end, Brian Taylor said the previous night game...
Oh, golly gee whiz, wow, wee, zippity-doo-dah, whoopee.
The Adelaide-Geelong game on Thursday night only had 30 frees, and the Melbourne Essendon game on the Friday night had 50 frees. And then James Brayshaw, former president of North Melbourne, he said, I think 30 is a much better ratio for free kicks.
How many notes?
What?
Too many notes.
Too many
notes.
You pay the frees that are there. It's not capped. If it's 30 frees or 100 frees, you pay them if they're there.
I think they should just they should wear a little pouch, and when they hit 30 frees, they should put the whistle away.
I think that's what they did in the grand final. I got the last 5 minutes and said, we're out of frees. We cannot pay any more frees.
No more frees.
No more,
we're out. We're out. We're done.
It's
all silent.
It's a ridiculous statement from someone in a position of influence. It's you pay what's there. I admit the Melbourne Essendon game was umpired pretty poorly and very inconsistent. But, I would hate for umpires to stop paying legitimate frees like pushing the backs and tackling and dropping the ball and not paying them just because someone's got, just keep it down to a nice ratio. Yep. Sacrifices for success. Pendlebury talked about the club culture and how the players are playing for less so they can bring guys in like Beams and Roughhead and build something for the future. And he compared it to like Dangerfield at Geelong, he said he's probably not in the top 5 paid players in the league, but he's there because they're building a culture for success.
Well, it's working for them.
They haven't had any success lately.
Well, they won 3 games. It's more success than us.
3 times as much.
Exactly.
the thing about success, how do you qualify success? Is it like,
You'd be successful at it.
but what's success? Like a flag or just finishing in the top 8?
Nah, flags.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we've covered that. Chris Mayne turned his career around. Great article about him, who's become an instrumental player in that side after Spook ragged on him the whole of last season. It's just disgraceful.
Absolutely. It
Shameful.
was like a dog with a bone.
Yep. Darcy Moore's early season, this is prior to the Eagles game, but he was drawing comparisons, or people were drawing comparisons to Hawthorn legend Peter Knights, the way he played centre half back.
What, with big blonde hair?
Apparently.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Yep. Oh, I think they were talking about Knights being a champion. Glenn McFarlane writes some fantastic, well, not some, he writes fantastic articles.
Oh, well done, mate.
He writes fantastic articles about Collingwood players and from, I don't know, the 80s and so around that period.
Mm.
He wrote one about Ray Byrne, who came
I loved him in Talking Heads.
and he came over from Carlton. This actually speaks to the culture we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. Byrne quote, "I loved Collingwood," he would say proudly. "It didn't matter if you were in the first or seconds. The supporters treated you as though you were something different, something special."
It doesn't sound like Collingwood.
Yeah. The only time you saw a Carlton committee man was match day or at a special dinner. At Collingwood, you saw the people running the club's blokes like former President John Hickey would come to Sunday training and stay and have a beer.
What a pack of arseholes.
No, Carlton, those bastards.
Yeah, imagine if they won flags in that period too.
So,
Tricks.
Ray went on, talking about after 5.5 seasons in Navy Blue, midway through a turbulent 1978 season for the club, Burns sought a new opportunity after 81 games. Carlton seemed to be falling apart, so I jumped out. Tommy Hafey rang me and asked me to come over to Collingwood. So because he jumped out in 78, he missed Carlton's 79, 81 and 82 premierships and got to play in Collingwood's 79, 80 and 81 grand final losses on top of the grand final loss at Carlton in 73.
Did they have psychiatrists back then?
Oh, that was a good move.
There's a lot of money to be made there, I think.
You put that up there with the Clinton Young move to jump to Collingwood.
Or the Buckley move.
It's been speculated in the last week about James Hird returning to Essendon's coach. Tony Shaw went on a rant, which is really cool. What those young players were put through. If that was my son involved, as one of those young players, I would have gone down there and grabbed him, Hird, by the neck and tried to belt the shit out of him. People say you've got to forgive and forget. No, you don't. What happened to them were the darkest days we've seen in the history of the AFL. What are your thoughts? Because someone, I won't mention who it is, but it was Mark Robinson, tweeted about how unjustified Shaw's attack on Hird is.
Oh, really? What corner was Robbo in all those years ago?
Well, I think he was acting as publicist for Essendon, wasn't he?
Oh, well, there's a shock then, isn't it? No, I mean, I think, well, there's two things here. Obviously, I think that's a reasonable response as a parent. That's your kid there. But it's wrong. It's just toxic masculinity. It's wrong.
Can I?
It's ignorant.
Can I interject? What Tony Shaw said there, I'm surprised a lot more people weren't saying that 5 years ago.
Are you threatening me with that pencil?
Yes. Because if I was a parent of someone in that environment, I would have been seriously pissed, and Essendon would be looking at lawsuits. Because
it's amazing that never eventuated.
Yeah.
Because you think logically that's right. Yeah, your kids were, well, allegedly being injected with stuff that they didn't know what it was. Wouldn't that be upsetting? You wouldn't go and have an injection at the doctor and say, "Well, what are you giving me, mate?" He goes, "Don't worry about it."
You know, that's how
Don't worry about it, mate.
That's how supervillains are created.
Is it?
Yeah, they just go
Is there
get
gamma rays in it?
and well, radioactive material, and your superheroes that create.
About 32.
Finally, Wayne Seekman has not had his contract renewed as coach of the AFLW side.
Oh, come on. They won a game this year. Isn't that enough?
Apparently not.
That's successful, isn't it?
There was some scuttlebutt that there was a very disharmonious playing group,
Was it?
which is why a few
They
players
just couldn't
left.
hit the right notes.
Yeah, their singing was terrible.
The Spice Girls just weren't popular enough across the board.
But I just found that interesting because we haven't played in the final series. I don't know if any of the other clubs haven't played in the final series in the AFLW history, short history.
We should go to the stats man and confirm that.
Gil?
He says he has no idea.
And they've been pretty disappointing, you know. And I think already that, like, going into this season, I knew we lost players. I thought, well, we're not going to get anywhere near the finals. So I actually lost a bit of interest in following them. But previously, I had been watching all their games. Hypothetically,
Yeah, Tarkin Lockyer.
coach,
Tarkin Lockyer.
coach.
Back it in.
Okay, I know they're not going to do it, but I'd really make an overture to Nick Malthouse. I seriously would.
He wouldn't do it.
Oh, he would do it. He would coach them for the next 28 years, I reckon.
Yeah.
And he obviously has a lot of football knowledge.
Never happen.
I know it'll never happen, but I'm just saying he's like a great choice. Or me.
What about Clarko?
Yeah, maybe. You think he'll come?
Yeah.
Okay. That's it for Medium Athletic. We'll be back with
that's
a
a
match
good one.
preview. Yeah, it's probably the best yet. Match preview. Collingwood versus... What's that saying?
Bullfrogs.
Okay. Be right back.
No.
So welcome back to the match preview. Collingwood Bulldogs.
When we playing?
MCG.
Oh, I like that place. It's got a lot of fond memories for me.
I like last Saturday night.
No, I didn't like it.
Oh, blurry memories Saturday night. When's the last time we played Bulldogs at the MCG? I don't know. 2011?
It's probably a final.
Probably last year, actually. But so I looked through the guys who were being touted. So Travis Varco was omitted and carried over, so he didn't get a run in the VFL. Ben Crocker continued his fine form in the VFL, being named the Pies' best players. Has been playing on the wing and been winning plenty of the ball. So
Straight in.
we want to expand. We just want to have midfielders. Just get rid of anyone who's not a midfielder.
Yeah, he'll come in.
Ben Reid, I didn't even realise he was back, but he played well and booted 3 goals.
Does he take marks in the forward line?
Well, he would if that ball gets down there.
Well, he could be a sneaky chance. I doubt it though.
I hope not. Reid and Wells I put in the same...
He'll get concussion running through the crepe paper and the banner.
I'll put him in the same basket that, you know what, because of your injury profile.
Not mine personally.
Yes, yours also. Play for a month in the reserves, and if you stand up, then we'll start considering you. What we don't want to
standing
do,
up would be a start.
don't pick him on history, because that's really been pockmarked over the last 19 years.
Right, so he'll be in as well.
Yeah,
Right,
he'll be in.
Next, who's coming in?
Max Lynch played a starring role for the VFL Pies in the victory over Collingwood, dominating ruck with more than 50 hitouts. Has been getting better each week.
I think Max will miss by this much.
Callum Brown been solid form in the VFL since being omitted.
Sneaky chance.
Was named among the VFL best players. I'm going to say something too. Flynn Appleby has been one of the most consistent performers through the VFL practice matches.
On next.
Has played down back and been in the thick of action each week. The funny thing is, like, looking at these players, Varco aside, I think we don't need any of you in your side at the moment, unfortunately.
But
You know, unless they drop Greenwood.
you'll see a couple of them come in, I reckon.
I'm curious what they'll... Varco's the one I think they'll bring in.
Yeah, his dash should be handy.
And just to get a bit of that forward pressure and all that sort of stuff.
I think Crocker will be a reward for effort.
Well-
That's usually the only way he gets in, then he pretty much doesn't do much and then goes away again.
Yeah, well, who would they drop?
I think, as I said before, Josh Thomas would be on shaky ground. They may not act straight away, but he'd be close. And I think Flipper-Dippery-Doo would be very close as well. Now, they're not like for like-ins, but it will come down to matchups as well. So
Doesn't really matter. Everyone's just a midfielder.
everyone's a midfielder.
Everyone's a
A
midfielder.
highly vaunted one.
Yes.
Or highly taunted.
Highly who's taunting him?
I think, I don't know.
Driver?
Yeah.
Hey, Driver. And Taylor Adams has been cleared of a late bump on Luke Shuey.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, good. We need him.
Yeah, I mean...
I want to see Sio come back in. Is he anywhere near in the future?
Now, Sire has a rib problem.
Yeah, a McRib,
No, just a chestal rib.
a chesticle.
Not a chesticle. Which is actually affecting his breathing. Gary Lyon, I didn't want to bring this up on Medium Acidic because I didn't remember. But Gary Lyon was touting, well, maybe and other clubs will be looking at him because he seems to have fallen out of favour at Collingwood.
Why?
Because he hadn't been playing for 2 rounds.
Maybe we should go back and worry about his tanking club.
Oh, they admitted that he tanked.
Oh, it was a shock, wasn't it? Who would have thought?
There's like detailed blueprints.
Yeah, anyway.
Do you know how the AFL found those blueprints?
No?
They found them in the droid that rolled across the desert.
Many Bothans died to bring him those blueprints. Blueprints?
Carlton. Oh, Carlton did have a loss last week. Bulldogs lost last week to Gold Coast.
Yes. And interesting.
Billy Gowers, I don't know.
They had a chance to equalise with the last kick,
yeah.
But no, cocked it up.
Just, and I'm sure some idiot in the media is going to point out, I had a chance to equalise, but if we had 9 pointers from 50, he could have also gone for the win.
Would he?
I don't know. Just, he missed.
What if they were 10 points down?
Well, I don't know.
Or 9 points.
They should, make it 12 points if you can bounce it off both
sides. You just keep shifting the goalposts.
Yeah, that'll work. What are your thoughts about this?
I should feel confident, shouldn't I?
You should.
Dogs have been patchy, but they've had a good win against Hawthorn when they were down. They've been down against Gold Coast and almost come back, but I don't think they've been anywhere near convincing. Our much vaunted midfield, I think, will arise this week and get us over the line, and we'll win by about 98 points.
We only have a 6-day break, and they have a 6-day-and-a-half break.
Oh, we're cactus.
You think that'll factor into it?
Well, what if they don't sleep in one day? Will that balance the ledger?
Well, if we can get them all to not sleep in.
No, I think we should win. If we're serious, we win. If we lose, we start to... we might have to install a panic button.
Famous last words, if we're serious. I think we should win, but geez, I'm not confident anymore. Something's not gelling there at the moment.
Look, the positive that I'm taking out of each of these weeks at the moment is we're not getting injuries, at least. I do really think that there is a cohesion there that's just not settled yet.
Yeah.
When we're good, we look good. We're just not having that drive. But I think we'll rebound after this week, and I think we'll come out with a bit more intensity.
Well, the good thing is, round 1 and round 3, we really didn't play that well, and we didn't lose by very much.
If you want to console yourself with something, that's probably not a bad one.
Yeah, and you think, okay, if you just click, and Geelong's, they're up and running, they're doing really well.
Yeah, let them peak early.
Yeah, but they are playing well at the moment, so we didn't drop a game to someone like Carlton or someone.
And we should have won that one.
Could have, should have.
Could have, would have, should have.
Could have. Collingwood's, logo, motto. And West Coast, obviously, reigning premiers. So, they're 2 losses.
That's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah. I even remember when we used to be reigning premiers. They're 2 good teams to lose to.
Are they?
No, they're not. They're 2 good teams, and we lost to them. So, they weren't like losses where I go, oh, geez, how could you possibly lose to that team in whatever the case? Like Bulldogs, you wouldn't think they'd be losing the Gold Coast at home.
No, it's still... you look at Freo's third on the ladder at the moment.
Yeah.
Brisbane haven't lost a game. It's still slipshod the season.
So Kilda's being competitive.
Yeah, and the pundits will tell you each week that it's a very even competition, but it's... I just don't think the good sides have really hit their straps yet. And at the moment, the also Rams are also running. So it's all over the place. Well, I tip I gave it before, 98 points.
I can't remember.
And that's just the first quarter.
All right. Well, I'm going to tip 26 points. You might notice the clock is 2 hours forward. Well, that's because they shitted us twice as much this week. We've got our podcast up now. There'll be links. If you're hearing pauses, that's just because we have no idea what we're saying from one moment to the next.
Well, that's normal every week, though.
Yeah. The Facebook page, like us on Facebook, subscribe to the channel, leave comments down here, give us a thumbs up. Someone gave us thumbs down last week.
Oh, that was me. That was a shit show, though.
Yeah. What, you didn't like the Gill interview?
No, that guy wasn't very convincing at all.
Who, Gill?
Gill, yeah. His arguments were terrible. Yeah. So we're at with the podcast. We are on Spotify. We're confirmed to be on there. If you search Collingwood Rant, you'll find us. Why you do that, I've got no idea. We are trying to get it on the into the Apple playground, but I don't think they like Collingwood Apple. They haven't approved us yet, but we'll get there.
But just look for us. We are over the internet, and if you see us in public, ask for Spook's autograph, but not mine.
I can't write, but you can ask for it.
I'll have a beer in my hand. I can't write.
I'd like to have a beer in my hand.
You've got a beer in your hand. So, hopefully a win this week.
Yeah, that's it. Get back on board, Woods.
We'll see you next week.
Toodaloo. Ouch.
Later.
Well, that just ruined everything.